everybody, what's up? My name is Matt, and wow, that was a really intense intro, but it's alright, I'm not gonna hurt you. So I want to talk to you about film cameras. So today, we are going to be talking about a camera very near and dear to my heart, and a camera that I think is very overlooked and underrated in the film community. This camera that I'm talking about is, of course, the Nikkormat FTN. Now, the Nikkormat FTN was released in 1967 and production went until 1975. Approximately 1 million units were produced, which is a pretty big feat for any camera company. At least it was back in the day from what I've read. The Nikkormat FTN was designed to be a prosumer model camera for people that couldn't quite afford a Nikon F, or that didn't really want a Nikon F or something as fancy. And so Nikon actually introduced the Nikkormat brand in 1965, 2 years prior, marketing the Nikkormat FT, and the FS, I believe, came out the same year as well. Both of those were slightly different. We're not really focused on those, but the bottom line is Nikkormat actually did away with those two models in 1967 when they introduced the FTN. Another important thing to consider or remember about the FTN is that it was the first camera Nikon made that introduced the center-weighted metering. Center-weighted metering is basically where, with film cameras, where the center of the viewfinder is where the meter kind of focuses in on to determine whether it's a correct exposure or not. So if there's any bright light in the outer part of the frame, it's not really going to consider that. I believe there's actually a percentage. I think it's like 70-30 or 80-20 in how the meter takes into account what the lighting situation is for a correct exposure. But either way, very groundbreaking, and it was the first camera Nikon made to introduce that, which they also had on the photomic heads, I believe, for the Nikon F. The Nikkormat FTN was introduced at a list price of, I think, $225 or $250 in 1967, which in today's money equates to about $2,000, maybe $2,200, if from what I can remember. It's been a while since I looked it up. I'm too lazy to look it up. So the question is, why should you buy a Nikkormat FTN, and why is it so underrated? The reasons I love the Nikkormat FTN are because it is durable. This thing is like 2 pounds. I don't know the exact weight on it, but it is a hefty, chunky boy. When I'm walking around all day in the city with this thing around my neck, it honestly gets kind of heavy. So maybe it's a downside, but I kind of have bigger hands and I like a very robust camera. It just feels amazing shooting with it. It's nice and solid, and it has a nice weight to it, a nice feel in the hands. Other cool features of that, it has that beautiful center-weighted metering pattern, very useful. The light meter in it is actually pretty accurate, it's pretty spot on. These cameras do take the Nikon, or Nikkor rather, non-AI lenses. If you don't know what non-AI is, that stands for non-automatic indexing. And Nikon introduced automatic indexing into their lenses in 1977. But you can still get adapters to use old Nikon F-mount lenses with newer cameras. But that's for a different video. So why is the Nikkormat FTN such a great option in today's market for film cameras? One, there are plenty of them. Like I stated before, Nikon made just about 1 million of these. So there are a lot of them out there. A lot of them are still in great condition. These are very robust cameras, and they're not for the faint of heart. They're pretty heavy. So the build quality is incredible on them, which we'll get into later in this video. They accept Nikon non-AI lenses, or AI lenses can be used, but you have to use stop-down metering with those. And the advantage of that is that Nikon lenses that are non-AI are significantly cheaper than their AI counterparts. So we have really good build quality, a lot of them are made, so they're easy to find, and one of the best parts is that they are cheap. This camera I got for $120, with 2 lenses and a flash off eBay. So I think that's honestly pretty good when you have cameras with the Canon AE1 going for, you know, $150, $170. I've seen even over $200 for Canon AE1s. I don't know who's paying those prices. If you are paying those prices for a if you are paying those prices for Canon AE1s, please talk to me because you need help. And I'd be willing to help you free of charge if you're paying that much for a Canon AE1. No offense to the Canon shooters out there, Canons are great cameras. I've seen these as low as $30 for a body on eBay. If you have a Nikon lens already, that's an F-mount. These do take Nikon F-mount lenses. You can get one of these for literally $30, 40 bucks. Make sure you ask the seller if the light meter works. You may get an untested light meter. But if you shoot using Sunny 16, that's not really a big deal. But without further ado, let's break down the features of this camera. So giving you a bird's eye view of the top of the Nikkormat, you can see it's a very simple control layout and very quick to, it's very easy to get used to quickly. So we have the shutter release button, we have the film advance lever, we have the frame counter, depth of field preview button, we have the film rewind crank, and a really cool light meter window. This actually is connected to the light meter in the camera, and I don't know if it'll do it because I'm indoors. This is a 2.8 lens. See when I activate it, I don't know if you can see that little needle moving. When I turn it on, the needle moves, and so that displays the same light meter reading as you would see in the viewfinder. This turns on the light meter, so when you pull it out and you see the red dot, that indicates the light meter is in fact on and the battery is being used. When you push it back in, that shuts the light meter off and you're not using battery on the camera. Flipping it around to the front here, we have, let me take this lens off. To take the lens off, you actually use this release button right here. So you simply press, hold, grab your lens, twist and lift. Put that to the side. Over here, you have the mirror lockup. Very useful feature on this camera. It's a little sticky on mine. On the Nikon F, using mirror lockup actually costs you a frame because it'll expose one frame. But on the FTN, you actually don't lose a frame with mirror lockup, which is an advantage to it over the Nikon F. You have the self-timer button here, and you may be wondering, how do you change your shutter speed? You actually use this little nub over here to change this dial, similar to the Olympus OM1. This camera, and I believe the Olympus OM series, I don't know if it's just the OM1 or also the OM10, I'm not too familiar with Olympus's. These two brands, Nikkormats and Olympus, are, to my knowledge, the only two cameras that implement this type of shutter speed switching system, where you literally just flick it around to change the speed, and this black dot indicates what shutter speed you're on. Some people find it quirky, some people find it a little bit clunky. I personally find it very intuitive, and it's really, really easy to use and really quick when you're out taking pictures. Not only that, but the viewfinder, when you're looking through the viewfinder, you can actually see not only the light meter on the side, the reading of it, but you can also see the shutter speed in the bottom of the viewfinder, which is very, very useful as well. On the bottom of the camera, we have the film release button, for when you're rewinding your film, and you just press that, crank it back, and then you have the battery compartment. And then of course a screw for a tripod, and that beautiful Made in Japan stamp in the metal. One thing that is very, very cool about this camera is that you will find very little plastic on it. Everything you see here on the outside is either metal or glass, or obviously this type of vulcanite, kind of leathery type of material. But even that is glass. That window over there is a glass. That outer ring is metal. So it feels very sturdy, and it is very sturdy, but it feels very, very robust when you are using it. I'll open it up for you so you can take a look at the inside. You have the release right there. There's the back. Now you'll see a little bit of plastic on the camera. The film take-up spool is plastic. On earlier models, you'll see it looks slightly different. I would open my earlier model for you. However, I have film in that, and I don't want to ruin all that film I have in there right now. I'm about half a roll in. The shutter on this is a metal shutter. It's actually a copal square shutter. And someone else in a video was talking about this shutter and referenced it as the AK-47 of shutters. It truly is. You cannot break this shutter. It is just very robust, very strong, and is a lot, I think outperforms a lot of the fabric cloth shutters. Pretty simple on the inside here though, not too much to really get a look at. You can pull that up, pull that out for you just for the sake of thoroughness. But they're really, there's not too much as far as fancy controls or features on this camera. It's a totally manual camera with the exception of the light meter that uses, battery power, but that's all the battery is for. You can use this camera without a battery, unlike a lot of autofocusing cameras or cameras with aperture or shutter priority like the Canon AE1 or like I believe the Minolta X700 as well, and those types of cameras. And there's something very freeing about that. To use a camera that's fully manual and know that it's going to be reliable and it's not going to break down on you. And that's why I love using these. I'll really quickly touch on the lens mounting procedure, which is pretty easy, but to newcomers could be a little bit finicky. It's called the Nikon twist, and you have to do this on Nikon F cameras as well. Just the Nikon F, I think they fixed it with the F2, but don't quote me on that. So you set your lens to f5.6, which is usually the middle ground for whatever lens you're using. And you make sure this pin is locked all the way to left. Don't push it too hard, you don't want to break it, but you don't want it to be sliding around. You want it to just be right over there. So you take your lens, these little rabbit ears, you put it flush and line them up. Grab this silver ring here, twist it till it locks. You'll hear it lock. You twist all the way one way, all the way to the other way. And then you'll see on this ring over here, this indicates that it was coupled properly. So this is an f2.8 lens, and I don't know if you can see that over there, but the red marker is right on 2.8. It goes all the way down to 1.2, and it goes all the way up to 5.6. And this just shows that the lens is properly coupled to the camera, which means that your light meter readings will be accurate. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot to go over as far as the features of this camera. It's a relatively simple camera. It's nothing super fancy or flashy, but it will get the job done. Oh, and one more thing to touch on. This does have flash ports, flash sync. This requires a cold shoe, which is a separate accessory that you can find on eBay, used. I don't think they make them anymore. But you can buy the vintage Nikkormat brand cold shoes where you unscrew this eyepiece right here, and you would put it on and screw this back on. You'd mount your flash, and you'd take a flash sync cable and put it into one of these ports, and you would fire off the flash that way. Other than that, I almost forgot that feature. That is really, that's basically it as far as features on this camera. It's a basic, robust camera that will serve you and many other generations, I'm sure, for quite a long time to come. Well, that was fun. So I hope that was a very informative video for you. Hope you're inspired to get out and get one of these beautiful cameras. I actually, I have two of them because they're that freaking good. This has, a different film stock in it. This has no film in it right now. I like having two of them simply because I can grab one. If one already has film in it, I don't need to explain or include why you should have two cameras, because if you do a lot of talk, I'm gonna stop talking. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed, and tune in soon for another video episode stuff. But okay, bye.